Hey guys, my name's John McKinney. I am president of the East Colfax Neighborhood Association. And wow, when I ran for president of our neighborhood association, I was gonna advocate for some sidewalks, yeah, clean up a few alleys, and afterward, I was gonna have a few brewskis with my neighbors. I never could have imagined that it involved trying to stand up for our Fourth Amendment right as an American. And I want to thank everybody here for standing up for my neighborhood and the citizens within it. I'm a technology consultant, mainly related to broadband. I take complex technology issues and I break them down into simple terms. And so what I wanted to do is break down what this flock technology does in simple terms. So let's talk about what flock is. It's two things. Number one, it's a series of cameras. And we're used to cameras all over the town. These cameras work off a solar panel. They can be mounted on a street light. They can be mounted on a post. They've obviously been in our community for just a few months now. But they have a sensor that as you drive by with a vehicle, it takes a video and a photo of the car. Now, with that, it takes that photo, does a little bit of magic inside of the camera, but not very complicated magic. And then it uses the cellular system to send that technology to a back-end server, a database. It used to be, back in the day, that a picture is worth 1,000 words. In Flock's case, a picture is worth 1,000 search terms. So what it does is it creates what they refer to as a vehicle fingerprint. It takes different features about that car. So you can't just take off your license plate to get around it. We don't recommend that either way. That includes the color of your car, the style of your car, features about your car. It also is intelligent enough to start to figure out what the make and model of that car is, all through machine learning. It's always good to read a patent to find out where this technology is going, because that is the true intent. You want to defend that intent. That's the purpose of a patent. And this patent for Flock actually talks about the back-end database and how it can determine race, it can determine the clothes that somebody's wearing, and other features, height, weight. So many features about an individual that are actually very personal information. And with that, I think it's not hard to see where that can lead beyond cars. So it's not just cars. Eventually, this can definitely lead to bicycles and pedestrians, meaning that anytime we leave our house, we'd be under constant surveillance. Now, the other part of Flock that is really interesting is they didn't necessarily start out marketing to police departments. They actually market to large companies like Target, Walmart. There was one, as I was going into Buc-ee's the other day, I saw a Flock camera. And when they're marketing to these companies, they don't talk about data security. They talk about a 60,000 camera network with 6,000 agencies and how they're creating a data net. But what they also sell with that is predictive technology, crime prevention, thinking about what you're doing before you're doing it. Yeah, just alone in Denver, it's capturing 2 million images a day. They're tracking us as we're going. Oh, I'm sorry, 2 million a month, thank you. In the press releases that you're gonna read about the contract the mayor signed this morning, it's gonna be presented that he's taking care of this data security. And what he's done is he's requiring a memorandum of understanding with other agencies. I don't know that a memorandum of understanding can override somebody's religious conviction if they're trying to get information out of our database. This data is not being stored on the hard drive of a computer under Commander Herrera's desk. This is data that's being held off-site by a private company, right? It'd be nice if it was under your desk. We could kick the machine and unplug it, right? If we felt like somebody's gonna get to it, but we can't do that. And then really the only way to prevent the sharing of this data in any manner is to not create the data in the first place. And that's... And the other thing about it is we've all worked with that bonehead coworker whose password is password using the A as an @ sign, right? That somehow got his bank account taken twice, clicks on every link that's sent to him. And while that's probably a little bit lower percentage of officers that take an oath. I can I can guarantee there's definitely boneheads in that organization too. We're not talking about 1 or 2 users that have access to the data. We're talking about, in the police department, hundreds of users? How many users, Commander Hura? So 700-800 users in 6,000 agencies?
Well, that's our police.
Well, no, but yeah, your police, yeah, the Denver police, 700-800 users. But if we take that average among larger departments and smaller departments, that means that we may have 30,000 passwords out there for this system. We're going to hit a bonehead. We're going to hit a bonehead. They're going to lose the password, or they're going to make a bad decision and share data, even though maybe the mayors between the 2 cities have signed a memorandum of understanding with each other. So also want to talk about additional data that is surveilling us. There's a technology called DFR, or Drone as First Responder. Simply put, what that is it's a box, maybe about the dimensions of this podium that stands about that tall, that you would put in a public place, plug it in, and then when the police are dispatched to a scene, it hovers above the scene and can read license plates and that. Now, on the surface, that actually sounds like a really cool technology. I'd like an officer that's going into the scene to maybe have a little guidance. Anybody that plays a video game knows that sometimes it's kind of good to go to that third-person view. So we can definitely understand why they would want that technology. On the other hand, if you're not willing to be open and transparent about all the technology that we're using, how can we be sure that you're not going to take that drone and fly over a protest and find out all the cars that are around that protest, and maybe not go arrest them tomorrow, but just throw the name on a list, right? Start keeping a little bit of a social credit score. While we don't believe that that's the intention of Mayor Johnston or the Denver police, I would question, why would you want to build the infrastructure that makes it possible? In addition, one of the other technologies is a technology called ShotSpotter, and it waits for something that has a sound signature of a gunshot, and it pinpoints where that occurs using microphones throughout the city. However, as people have started exploring the limits of this technology, we're starting to hear about it being turned on just to kind of record for maybe a fight going on, or possibly even conversations. We don't believe that's the current intent for this technology, but why are we putting in infrastructure that makes it possible? And why are we doing it with our tax dollars, right? So with that, we've developed a question on behalf of the East Colfax Neighborhood Association, and that is, Tim, of the mayor's office, what are your concerns about potential city liability from the use of flock technology and the loss of that data to outside sources?
My name is Tim Hoffman. I'm in the mayor's office. I serve as his director of policy. I appreciate the question. I think one of the topics that we've been talking about with council members, I know that this has been a concern that's been brought up a couple of times in some of these R&O meetings, are around some of the potential Fourth Amendment implications around whether or not this would be a violation, this type of data protection. Is that the genesis of the question, or is it something else?
I think there's an open disagreement about whether this is a Fourth Amendment violation. As a neighborhood, we 100% believe it is. The mayor's office, the mayor's office has stated that there's no expectation of privacy once you enter the public right-of-way. And my feeling is that kind of surveillance, it erodes our right to religion, it erodes our right to travel freely, and it erodes our right to explore life without experiencing consequences for every little mistake.
Just a first quick correction. You said that the mayor's office position is that we believe that there's no expectation of privacy when you enter a roadway. Okay. Is that better? You guys can hear me now? Okay. I just want to be very clear that it is not the position of the mayor or the mayor's office that you have no expectation of privacy when you enter a roadway. What he is referring to... What that is referring to,
Excuse,
Let him talk.
excuse me. If folks like invited, council members and people from the mayor's office, can we, if we're trying to engage in a dialogue and conversation, which I'm here to do tonight, I'm here to listen to all of you as well. And a lot of us have been working really hard trying to address these concerns and these issues. And so if we could just try to have, some respectful dialogue and allow people to speak. You may not agree with what they have to say, and that's fine. We don't have to agree, but I would like to allow people to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Gonzalez-Gutierrez. What I was saying is that what the reference is to the legal standard around whether or not there's a Fourth Amendment violation when it comes to these type of surveillance technologies. And what the courts have for decades looked at is whether an individual has a reasonable expectation of privacy in the thing that is being searched. There are courts that have looked at this as it relates to license plate reader systems in other jurisdictions, and some courts have found that yes, it is that you do have a reasonable expectation of privacy of your license plate when you are on a public roadway. There are also many other courts that have looked at it who have found that no, you do not have a reasonable expectation of privacy of your license plate number when you are on a roadway. So as it relates to the first question, that is an unsettled area of law right now. But I think to the larger point around the question of, is this a technology that is tracking everyone in this room around the city right now? I think that there, as we were talking about, there is a fundamental disagreement in that, yes, there are pictures being taken at these 111 locations of the cameras, but they are not being searched by anybody unless your car is suspected of being either stolen or involved in another crime. And so there is a difference between the mass surveillance where everyone is being watched all the time and the data being passively collected. And it is then only looked at, and this is one of the new features that we included as we roll out these new technological features. DPD, as of now, is the only agency in the country who has access to Denver's data. Period, full stop. For now, until there are MOUs negotiated with other local jurisdictions. But as part of the new data system that we are rolling out, when a DPD officer,
Please stop.
When a DPD officer is going to search for a license plate, there will be an enumerated list of crimes that they will have to select that will then enable them to search for that vehicle. So it is not as though they can type into an open box any reason for why they are doing it. It will be an enumerated list of either Colorado or Denver-based crimes that would then enable them to search for it. So I think, again, there is simply a disagreement over whether or not the passive collection of these license plate images that is then held on this system but is not accessed or looked at by anyone constitutes the mass surveillance that it's being portrayed as, or if it's only when you, or it's not even you, when your vehicle is suspected of being involved in a crime or has been stolen or otherwise, it would then be queried into the system, and if it exists from the last 30 days, then it would pop up into the flock system.
So the question is actually about liability. What response, like, how do you feel about the city having liability for creating this data that could possibly be used against its citizens?
Can you say a little bit more about what you mean by used against the citizens?
Well, let's say that a citizen from the state of Texas was seeking abortion care and coming to Colorado, and their data had been released through Flock, and it was identified that they had come to Colorado to get an abortion. Maybe they get picked up by a bounty hunter, and they get brought back for justice, or the Texas version thereof. Now that person has experienced damage because of data that was collected by the city of Denver, I would believe that would cause a great liability for the city.
Yeah, so a couple things. Number one, we have shut off access to every jurisdiction outside of the state of Colorado. That's been the case for several months now. We now have shut off access to every jurisdiction outside of Denver. So a Texas jurisdiction simply does not have access to Denver's data. They cannot get it. Secondly, there are state laws and there are Denver ordinances around whether or not we can comply with either civil immigration enforcement or reproductive health care. When someone is coming, there's a shield law now statewide. And so FLOC has set in parameters that there's absolutely, in the state of Colorado, no searching for any sort of terms that have any sort of implication around immigration enforcement, civil immigration enforcement, or reproductive health care. It's just not something that in the current system that we have built in this Denver model.
Okay, yeah, for the sake of time, we'd like to just get a quick response if anybody from City Council. Oh, and thank you, Councilwoman Lewis, for being here. We always appreciate your support for East Colfax. We love you.
All right. Thank you all for inviting me here so much and for coming and spending your time. I'm Sarah Parody. I'm one of your council members at large. A few responses to that. I think it's missing the forest for the trees a little bit to say that now that we've locked out everyone other than Denver police, as of this morning, by the way, which the mayor could have done at any time. Now that we've done that, we're thinking about letting access back in. And John is actually hitting the nail on the head here, because in addition to this large searchable database, which officers can access without any kind of reasonable suspicion or warrant. So I do take objection to the mayor's office saying that you have to be suspected of a crime. You only have to be suspected of a crime in the mind of an officer doing a search. There's no legal standard that's applied, and it can be totally investigatory. And in addition to that, if you meet that kind of legal standard, so if someone in Texas, where abortion is a crime, does get a warrant, and we have created these images. And so then at that point, we may be in a legal situation where we're handing them over and we're helping people who came here to get reproductive health care be prosecuted for it back home. And I'm not okay with that under any circumstances. I'm just not. The other thing I want to respond to really quickly is I just want to be really clear about how we got on the national network, because the primary presentation today about the way that we're tightening this up so much is we got off this national network in April. We're going to get off the state network. We're going to remove the logins for the 2 FBI officers who we gave logins to through DPD itself, any of which we could have done at any time. But the way we got on the national network was we signed an agreement to get these cameras and to create a searchable database for ourselves. It said nothing about a national network. It said nothing about a state network. And DPD did not know, the mayor's office did not know, certainly council did not know, certainly you all did not know that we were on that national network until city council started asking questions after we had been on it for a year. FLOC put us on it without any permission and without telling us. And we've decided that this company is so trustworthy that we can do a little handshake deal with them. I am not okay with it.
Lastly, I need to deliver one clear message to the mayor. Please share this with him on behalf of the citizens of East Colfax. And we're going to say this in a really East Colfax kind of way. Quit doing this behind closed doors and come out and debate this in the public forum, you fucking pussy.
Thank you, John.